Hi everyone and welcome back. Today is day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's day 8 of our 12 days of comfort and color. Pickles is here because Pickles has got a lot going on today. Get whatever is cozy for you. Maybe that's your pet, but probably they'll be in the way. If they're like my cat, they'll knock over your whole Christmas tree. We're going to work on our list of cozy, okay? My first thing today is Diet Dr. Pepper. It's not always tea. And so I've got that for one thing. Maybe you have a nice warm drink. I have got my candle. Maybe get something like a cozy blanket. Hold on, this is the cute side. And get covered up and cozy with that. And let's get on to our, well, first I'll show you what we're painting. We're painting this one today. So it is kind of like a simple square pattern with like a grid, but I think you can make it more complex by doing more or a little bit easier by doing less. And I will show you how to do either way. We are going to need our regular supplies, which is our set of watercolor paints, a towel and a jar of water, pencil and a kneaded eraser. This is a size 10 round watercolor brush, and I will be using an ultra fine point Sharpie for the outline work on top. If you've got a little spray bottle and a craft heat gun, that's going to be great. And I think that's pretty much it. So go ahead and make sure that you're comfy, you're cozy, you've got everything that you need, and let's get started. I'm not sure in the intro if I mentioned that you're going to need your template, but we are going to need that one today. And we're working on 6" by 9" cold press watercolor paper. And I thought we would take just a minute to observe. This is my quick sketch that I did on Procreate, and this is where it ended up. And what I like about this one is that it's a way to get in all the colors you want to see. And it's kind of a simple way. I think you'll find it's a fun one. I like how we gave it the heel and the toe this time, along with 2 puff balls. So it has a lot of cuteness going for it. And you can make a whole bunch of these if you want a really tiny grid of squares on here. And if you don't want to even do this much because you want to check off today, but you don't want to paint quite as much, you can do bigger squares today. So let's grab our template. And for now, we're going to need our pencil and our eraser. Let's see here. And let me zoom out for you. You can see that, first of all, we're going to turn our template this way this time. And since this is a little bit different size and on a different shape of paper, it won't be exactly the same. But let's just kind of look. Yeah, I think we're just going to do it on a regular size. If you wanted to lengthen yours, you would do it the way that we did, I think, just yesterday. But you know by now from the other videos. So I think the main thing is we do need to tip it this way. I would say actually don't lengthen it probably, because we do need to make sure we've got extra space up here. So I'm pulling it close to the left side and kind of, I don't know, we don't need to go down too far, but let's go about like this. And then we are going to gently go ahead and trace the whole thing. And we will be using the cuff today so we can do all of it. And just real light on your pencil. I think I dipped in a little bit there. Why is it like some days outlining is hard though? Case in point. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, and what I like about this is that it has that dip. So even though we did it upside down, we can come like this and gently kind of bring both sides in and connect them. And if you don't get it right the way you want to see it the first time, you just erase it and adjust it a little bit. I have 2 lines, so I got to get rid of one of them. Okay, great. And then I like how this gives us kind of a guide on where we might want to put these. But since it is in reverse, you're going to have to wing it a little bit. We can see it's, you know, maybe look at where it starts. Just like always, look at where it ends. And this does not have to be perfect, okay? So don't worry too much about that. And we're just going to do some kind of curve. Does not have to be the same as this. Maybe you didn't even want it to be the same as that. And we're going to do another one, just sort of looking at where it starts and where it ends on the heel. And once again, let's put some little marks there. Nice kind of round curve to this one though. Great. And if your pencil got dark, let's lighten it up. And that is all that we need the template for. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add these little, I really should have come up with a name for them, but tags, ribbons, balls, you know, over the top. This one, they're in a little bit further though, and I think that's real cute that way. So let's put a little mark. Maybe it's going to be this top shape where you think they should go. These ones don't even overlap, and I think it's real cute that way. Here, let's get in closer. And so we're going to put some space between them. It is nice that they have some sort of a downward curve, so like a sad face up here. That helps it look like they're coming up and over the stocking. And we'll look where they end. This one, I think it'd be cute to leave this. I don't want this to overlap the stocking. So that's kind of what matters to me. And look, I can fit like basically a whole nother one before I get to this cuff, which means it's probably all the way. Look, I'm going to eyeball one and put the next one here. And the size is absolutely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and put the other one now though. Look at the angle they're on. It's not above it. It's kind of a little bit diagonal to the right. And this is not something that, this is not like windows on a house where like it kind of needs to make sense and be perfect. This isn't that, so don't worry about it. I think let's do the one on the right first this time. Look how it comes, and it's basically just a little scoop down, and it's going to come to this. One thing for both of them is they kind of like wherever you make this meet, that sort of would be where it connects. Doesn't have to be the top of it exactly, but just watch for that. And you can put lines where you want it to go or just eyeball it. We're going to swing it down. I think I want more of a curve than that. Okay, press lightly. I'm noticing I'm a little hard on my pencil today. This is just my first line still, but I didn't like the first try. So we're all using pencil and eraser until we find that we like it. Okay, that was the top of it, and then I'm just going to follow it along right here. You can make this as skinny or as wide as you want to. Cute. And then while we're here, why don't we just go ahead, since these ribbons are in front of the stocking, they shouldn't have any stocking lines going through them, so we'll erase those now. And then we've got this one kind of comes over to the right and then down and over to the right. The sound effect was like a slide. Right, guys? Okay. I want to look at where I want it to cross. It's kind of right here. So I'm going to put that line in. And I'm going to come to the right, down, and then to the right again. And now I'll just follow it. I want these two to be basically the same width. And once again, these are in front of the stocking, so they shouldn't have any lines going through them. And here as well. So this one had 3 lines, and we just got rid of all of them. And now I want you to look at this because we have the whole, you know, outline of the whole thing done. And I want you to see, do you like it? Do you like where things are? Did your pencil get really dark anywhere? If so, you can lighten it up if you choose to. Did you get rid of all your pencil lines on the ribbons? Do you like the curve of things? Like, I actually like this curve better. I think it's cuter that it swoops down. Yep, I wasn't going to change it because you have to wait for me, but honestly, it's cuter. So follow my lead on that one. Anybody else just sing Wicked? Follow my lead. That was not in tune, but at least I know that it wasn't in tune. Okay. I like the swoop. I don't know. It's a little bit better. I'm going to leave it. Okay. This fuzzy part, we don't have to draw in now. We'll paint regular. Okay. And then we'll just do that with our ink at the end. But it's time to go ahead and do our grid. So just observing this one for a moment, this one, the line comes straight down the center first, and I divided into 2 on that one side, 2 on the other, and then we made up the extra over here. So this was the beginning line, which helped me sort of make sense of things. I think even though I want to, like, I really kind of am in the mood to do like maybe 6 across instead or something, I'm going to leave it like this just to simplify it. But if you want to do more, go for it. I think it's a cute challenge on this one. So we're going to go ahead and turn this so that our stocking is pretty much upright, because to me that's going to help it make the most sense. And then from there, we're going to draw a line right down the center. No one is stopping you from getting out a ruler if you want one. This does not have to be perfect. It's going to be somewhere in the center, and we're going to call it good. If you start doing it and you're like, oh dear, if you say, oh dear, and you want to adjust it, go ahead. I am going to just check myself with a paper because I don't want to lead you astray. And here's how I'll do it. I'll line it up with the top of the stocking. So I am gonna adjust it because this is my first line, and I'm gonna base the rest of it off of that. So hopefully I won't be using a ruler too much beyond that, just because I like us to kind of get used to not needing one. But that being said, you might always want one, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's something lovely about it, because I am not gonna lie, I like some good straight lines. Okay. I've got this one, and that, like we said, is dividing it in half. So now we need to take the right half and divide it in 2 by putting a line down. And now my guide is this one. This one is not straight because it has a bit of a curve to it, right? So I'm going to more use the one on the left, and I'm going to start doing this. And basically I want to look that I made 2 sections that are pretty much the same. Okay, and then we'll do it on this side as well. If anything, this one would be smaller because it would be cut off, but I want them to be pretty similar. I'm going to turn my paper because that's going to make it easier for me to follow this line as a guide. And it really was. And now here, I'm going to look right here because I've got the most space, and I'm going to try to make this one about equal. I'm still following this line now as my guide, and we're off to a great start. This is an alternate stocking idea right here that we're not doing today. Keep adding lines and do a bunch of vertical stripes would be really lovely. If I change my mind on any of the future ones, we might just be doing that. Okay, and then from here, see, we've created a width, and we're going for squares, so we'll use that as a guide. We will use this line here as our guide off of the stocking. And now, see, I'm trying to find it the same width as I have from here to here. You can always use your pencil to measure it like this. See, I'm putting my thumb at the end of it, and then go this way again, and that will help you figure it out. And I was right on. But I do want to follow this line now, okay? And I'll clean this up so it's less distracting. I will remind you now that once we paint with watercolors, you lock in your pencil. And so if there's any pencil marks that you don't want to see later, you do want to get rid of them before we paint. So I'm just going along, and I'm trying to turn this into a grid now. But things like this are great because there's a lot you can do once you can get this part figured out. It's not perfectly straight. I'm actually going to just leave it because we're just not all going to have perfectly straight ones, and it's going to be cute anyway because I said so. Okay, things like this where I just barely have a corner, they end up kind of cute because you can put paint there. Let's look to see if this, see, look, this looks just taller than a square. So I added a line there as well because I would like to go ahead and use my paint there, which will help my design look, I think, even more, I don't know, intricate or cool or something. I like it. I can tell when I look through my camera that these ones are bigger and these ones are smaller. So I could clean that up a bit, but I'm not going to today just for the sake of our time together. But if you're ever wanting to look at something like that, take a picture on your phone, look at it on your phone, because it'll be smaller and it gives you some perspective. Okay, so if you like what you got, let's get rid of any lines that got real dark or you don't want to see later. And we will move our pencil out of the way and go ahead and start mixing up our puddles. So we'll create all of our puddles before we get anything on the paper here. I was like, where's my paints? They're right here, guys. Okay. And I'm going to, so I just dipped my brush into my water. And now because I have all these colors here from our previous days, I'm going to start with them. On this one, I just did 3 colors and I did them in diagonal rows. So I think diagonal rows will be a really lovely way to do it. But you can do as many as you want. 1, 2, I think 3 is cute because you get to see a good amount of it. But that's up to you. I guess I'll do 3 for today. We could do them the same. So we'll do a red. If I do this red, I know it'll match another one of my stockings. So if you care about them coordinating, that's up to you. But just play with your reds. So notice I took my brush, dipped it in the water, grabbed some paint, put it onto my palette. Then I added some water to it and mixed it around. So this is a puddle. I can move it around and it's watery. This is a dried up puddle. We want yours to look like this one, okay? And I like these colors today, but I kind of missed the lime green. I don't know. You can do as many colors as you want. I guess I'll do 4 colors today just to change it up. So I will do the lime green again because I like it. So I'm dipping my brush into the water and then grabbing paint, swiping it onto my palette, going into my water and back. And then that's a puddle. Now in watercolors, we get our colors lighter by adding water. So if you ever want to lighten them up, add more water. If you want them darker, you're adding more paint into your puddle. And I think I might have done this one. If you go to the center, if you have this same paint set, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th one down is one I've been using a lot. If you don't have this paint set, this is just a nice, lovely blue. If you did have white by chance, you might add a little white into it to get something that looks a little bit more like this, because this one does have just a little bit of opacity to it. And then I'm going to do this one. So this is like almost like an emerald color or maybe teal. So you play with your paints and see what you like. It would be a green with a tiny bit of blue, maybe even navy blue in it. I've got one here. It's the 4th one up, and I'm just going to start with that. You do want to have your puddles pretty much mixed up and ready here so you don't have to keep mixing up your colors because you want them to be consistent throughout. So if your paint is made up, that will be helpful to you. Let's see. Do I like this color the way it is? Sure. I guess I do. But you make sure you like yours. You know, this is the time where we're playing on here. This is what your painting's going to look like if you can look at the puddles that you've made, okay? So I'm going to move those out of the way now. And because I don't want to forget this, okay, we'll do one more thing with our paints. I noticed that I've got a whole bunch of paint in this. So if you have this 36 set, you've got space for a brush, okay? Well, I never use it for my brush. I use it for paint, so I have more like palette space, and I always do my blacks here, maybe some browns and some greens, which is why it always looks like this, the more used my palette is, which means though that if I dipped the tip of my brush in my water and went over here, I'm going to have a little tiny bit of black, which I can use as gray. See how I have this really tiny puddle here? So the point is that if you have a wet brush and grab the teeniest bit of black and bring it over here, you'll have gray. You can also do opposites on the color wheel and create your own gray. But we just want like this, a lot of water, tiny bit of black or color, okay? And if you'll notice on here, do you see the shading? There's a little bit of shading on the white. And it's just kind of a fun way to do, like most things that are white, the definition or the texture is shown through the colors that you see or through reflections of colors or whatever else. So what I'm doing is I'm actually taking that gray right now, and I'm just going to go like this and do this row right on the bottom. Oops, don't go on that. It'll get covered up, so it's okay. Right along the bottom of this. And I'm actually going to clean out my brush and then dry it on my towel. And with that damp brush, I'm going to go over the edge because I don't want to see the edge later on. Like, I don't want a hard line. I want a soft line. So I'm going to soften it up with a damp brush. And I'll take that gray again, and I'm just going to do the same thing to the bottom on all 4 of these. Now, if that's darker than you want, lighten up your paint. And definitely, I would say, look at your color on your palette before you do this. I'm doing just a little bit here. I don't want a lot on the bottom of the stocking, but it's kind of cute, right? Same thing here on the bottom of those palms. And I just leaned into the belly of my brush a little bit. Now I cleaned my brush, wiped it on my towel, and wiping was like this, 1, 2, that's it. And then with that damp brush, I'm just softening up those edges. So you see this nice soft shadow versus a harsh line. This one's a little more harsh, but I think we can take it. I think it looks good. And then I think the safest thing is to give that a dry. I'm going to live life on the edge right now, I think. Because I used very little water. There we go. But the safest move is to dry it real quick. Otherwise, when we start painting right here, your colors are going to bleed. I just don't want to pause yet, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, so now I'm doubting myself. No, I think we're okay. So I am going to take my brush, and I'm just putting maybe the first third of my brush into that puddle that I made. And I'm going to start a row right here, and it's a diagonal line of one color. Make sure you dry yours first. If yours, it's just so much safer. Otherwise, this red will go right up into your top, and it'll really frustrate you, okay? I'm using the tip of my brush along the edges, and I'm leaning into the belly of my brush for the center. I'm getting a little bit more paint, but when I got paint, I still only put about a third of my brush into that puddle. And I am just following this diagonal. Now, I do want to get kind of nice corners. You don't totally have to, but in order to get there, I'm lifting up on my brush. So I'm just pressing very lightly with my brush. And I might also, instead, see how my brush right now is like on an angle. I might also tip it up like this to get it, the tip of my brush, even tinier. And that's going to really just help me get into those corners nicely. Using a paintbrush is about pressure, and so the lighter you are in your brush, the tinier the tip of that brush is going to be. You can connect these if you want to. It's up to you. Most of the time I would connect shapes that touch and are the same color. And we are about done with our first row. So here's where you want to decide how many colors you're doing, because if you are going to have another row of this color, why not do it while you've got that puddle nice and fresh and you know that it's going to be kind of how you want it to be. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 1, 2, 3. So this row right here for me, am I right? Diagonals can throw you. Yeah, so I'm going to go right here because I want to have 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. This would be the 5th. Okay. I feel like maybe I should be embarrassed that it took me that much time to figure that out, but you know me by now. That's all good. Okay, I just refreshed my brush again, and once again we're on a diagonal. Now, if you count your diagonals wrong and you get your pattern wrong, guess what? Nobody cares. It's still going to be cute. Seriously. I messed up that one the other day, and I absolutely left it. I'm refreshing my paint almost every square, just to make sure I've got exactly what I want here. And notice that I am not going back over the whole thing. Once I paint it, it's done, and that's going to give me a nice flat, even wash on it. But if I were to start painting it like this and then go over it and be really slow, and then I get down here and I come back again, it's going to look messy because you're going to see how it's drying. This is adorable. What an excellent start. I love it. Okay, I'm going to stop for a moment and give it a dry. Or am I? No. Yes. Yes, I am. Okay, mine's all dry. And the reason I hesitated is I could have done these rows that aren't exactly touching. They're just the corners are. But I really like to paint next to the color so I can decide one at a time where I want my colors to be. So I have two greens and I need to decide, do I want them next to each other or not? And I'm going to say no. So I'm going to get into my lime green next. And I'm actually going to do it to the left of all of my reds. So you're just picking your next color, however you decide to do it. And we're going to paint just down the line like this. You do want to be careful not to cover what you've already done. And this one is running the risk of it. So I just touched my brush to my towel to lift up some excess water. But when you do have a little bit of excess water or paint on your brush, it just is very easy for it to kind of need to find a space to go, and it'll kind of, I don't know, it goes over the lines and it gets on your other one sometimes. So I've got this one filled in, and now since that was to the left of my red, it will be the same down here. I like this lime green because it feels really grinchy. I feel like grinchy is a word that you can't use just any time of the year and have people know what you mean, but right now we get it. Okay, and then red, 1, 2, 3. So I still have two more. Okay, I think that one is the lime green again. Is that right? Red, 1, 2, green. Red, 1, 2, green. Yep. So you're just counting, and we're just working on patterns and apparently learning how patterns work, if you're me. I like it. Okay, great. So now we've got all of this done, and we can start on another. Since we know our red is dry, we'll do the one on the right of the red. And since I wanted to keep my greens apart for no particular reason, I just wanted to, I'm going to go into that sort of tealish green color and start painting the ones on the right of the red. I want to get close to the corners, but I don't mind some white space. It just doesn't bother me. Light on the tip of your brush when you get into those corners. And I really am refreshing my brush with paint about every square. One thing you're going to be thinking about is, what color do you want your ribbons to be? Your tassels, your strings, tags? I don't know. Usually I wait till I'm finished and I decide what color do I want to see more of. Cute. I love this. I love simple things that just show off colors. If paintbrushes made a lot more sound, I could do like ASMR of this, and you wouldn't have to listen to me. You could just listen to like a loud paintbrush sound. I'm almost done with this color, and then I'm going to give it a dry because now I do want to make sure my colors are dry. I think color bleeds are beautiful, but on this one, I don't want to see them. So first I'm going to look and just see, is there any other space where I should be doing this color? And I think I need to make this one a little bit more precise. So just looking at things while you've got your paint out. And I will now dry it. Now, you could leave white. Honestly, I love leaving white in a pattern, but we are already going to do white on all these spots. So I am going to fill those in. And so I'll give it a quick dry. Okay, I'm on to my last color, which is that beautiful blue. I just looked up when I was drying it, and there's a window in front of me, and I can't tell you how many times I look out that window and there is a squirrel looking right at me. It's funny. Okay, you can tell this one has way too much water, so I can do a couple things, but one is really just touch that brush to my towel and kind of lift up any of that excess paint. I think that was enough already. But if you're ever feeling like these are just out of control, you have too much water in your puddle or on your brush somehow, not in your puddle, but on your brush. And so at that point, you can clean out your brush in your jar, dry it on your towel, and then just put the first tip of your brush into your puddle. It's a good way to kind of get back control, and then just realize you may need to err on the side of a little bit less water as you go. And if anybody has it where it's drying while you work, or maybe it's just looking messy, like it's just leaving marks with like almost every brush stroke, then you need to err on the side of a little bit more water. So look at your puddles and see if they look like they're puddles. Otherwise, you're using watercolor paint similar to acrylic paint, but you're not getting the effects of watercolor, and you're just probably not getting what you want because watercolor is transparent, and different acrylic paints have different opacities to them. But yeah, watercolor being transparent or translucent, really, it ends up just showing everything. So that can really frustrate you. Okay, if you have puddling or pooling in any of these, just, you can dry your brush and just touch it right where it is got the excess and lift that up. I'll try to link the video on lifting, which will kind of explain that technique a little bit more. And right now I know this lime green one is dry, so I think I am going to go in with the blue and do my little ribbons here. And so I'm refreshing my blue puddle to make sure it looks like the blue that I used here. I got a little fuzzy. Sometimes when I have a towel, it just gets like little fuzzies on my brush. Okay, and then I am going to just fill these in. If you feel out of control, you have too much water. And remember, using a brush is about pressure. So light on the tip of your brush for skinny lines, and pressing into the belly of your brush for bigger spaces. If I'm too fast, you can pause me. Oh man, what a cutie this one is. I love it for its simplicity, but man, you can really get some good color. Okay, we're going to dry the whole thing because I think a big part of this is all of that fuzziness, which we need to do with our ink. We want to make sure this is really good and dry, which means you can't see the light reflecting on it. And I would say let's touch it with your hand and make sure it doesn't feel damp either. It feels fully dry. And that is going to be what we need, because otherwise when we get in there with our ink, the ink will look fuzzy, right? Because the water will kind of like diffuse it. Now I wanted to quick show you this, and we've done this before, but when we're about to do any sort of a fuzzy pattern, I want to just remind you, yours could be like this. Yours could be this cutie little loopy design. It could be really tiny ones that are all exactly like that, but small. I'll show it this way, right? See that? It's cute. It could be zigzag, just up and down the whole time. You could do large ones, very fluffy like a cloud. That's very cute as well. I like to do this really, if you look at it, I mean, it's a very scribbly, zigzaggy pattern, and I lift up my pen when I want to, and I move it around. It's probably got loops in it here and there. That's my style. That's what I like to do. But I want you to kind of maybe take a practice piece of paper and see what you think your style is. And if you can just, if you're like, practice it, see if you like scribbly, see what happens. Maybe that is out of control and you do not like that. What do you like? Okay, so this is a time for you to figure out kind of like what's your jam, you know? And then we're going to come over here and whatever it is that you have decided, we're going to start to do it. So I definitely want to do this cuff first because I want that to overlap this part, right? Because that probably would be a cuff that comes down and over, and I don't want you to accidentally do your grid and put a straight line here. So we'll start, honestly, I'll just start right there. And for me, I'm going to do this zigzag back and forth with some loops in it, scribbly, because that is what I like. And lift up your pen when you want to. I would stay pretty close to your pencil, just because you're trying to also kind of cover it too. If you want to erase some pencil lines later, I would just make sure everything is very dry. Otherwise you can smear paint and it really bugs you. Okay, great. That's my top part. I'm going to do my, I'm going to outline the ribbons next. I like to start at the top so I keep that curve. And make sure to move your paper so that it's comfortable for you and you feel like you're able to get these nice sort of fluid lines. You can clean up your shape with the ink, or you can intentionally go off of it, or apparently, like me, you can just sort of go outside of the lines. It's fine. And we'll get into this one. Once again, trying to like stay kind of close to your original shape so that you maintain, like if it's roundish, it stays roundish. You can do another bit inside of it if you want, and that kind of adds to like maybe some fluffiness. But if you do it, I try to keep roundness to it in how I'm sticking it in there. And I want to actually, once again, do these corners first so that I can keep their fluffiness. You can decide, is this part fluffy too? Like, it's up to you, but I'm going to say yes because I like it. I like the fluffiness and I like reason to scribble on my paper. All right, if you could only have 2 foods for Thanksgiving or for Christmas, either one, any of those holiday meals, like, that's it. There's no potluck. There's no gigantic thing full of food. What are your 2 foods? What are the, like, musts? Once we have these, we're going to start just going in lines, following along our pencil. I am going to say my mom's cranberry salad is one. It's got like nuts and oranges and cranberries and, you know, other stuff in it. Lots of stuff in it. And it's delicious. And it's just like means holidays to me. So that's one. And my other would be sweet potatoes. And we make them with marshmallows and butter and brown sugar. So those are my 2. But I wouldn't like hate a deviled egg in there. That feels kind of important. Oh, look, I could have done another color right there. So I might try 2 after this. But if you don't know that your ink is like water safe, I wouldn't risk it. Oh, the cuteness. Okay, I'm digging it. I'm going to quick, what color would that be? That would be blue. So with the teeniest amount of paint on my brush, I'm just going to fill that in. Cute little detail. And I will take my ink and sign it. I want to see your artwork. Just like always, I love seeing your artwork over on my Facebook page, Audrey Shantz Art. I had to stop writing while I talked so I didn't spell my name wrong. this is a fun one. I hope you liked it. Can't wait to see your work, and I will see you back here tomorrow.